The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, it's Perch. Miles Morales as a character. I've done a few videos on Miles Morales, and he's one of the characters that I get maybe the most email about. I think about kind of all the different characters and what's there, and I got this mail. It's a little long, but I'll read a little bit of it. But I want to point out kind of an observation here, because people make videos about Miles Morales, and I was seeing some a guy at Marvel was basically complaining, like, look at all the chuds who are complaining about Miles Morales. And I want to point out this observation that it's probably a good sign. If I'm Marvel, it's a good sign that people are complaining about Miles Morales. I mean, granted, it'd be better if nobody was complaining about him. People are just buying and reading the adventures and everything. I mean, that'd be better. But the attention and complaints about Miles does still equal attention. And while it sounds weird, like, you'd rather have good press rather than bad press, and I am not the subscriber to the Eric Bischoff, any press is good press, even if it's bad. There's an investment factor here. And the investment that I know for Miles Morales is there's a lot of people, comic readers, who write in with suggestions on what, how to make him better or what he should do. So what it indicates are people care enough about the character to want to kind of lean in and do more with him. They're not, it's not, I wish Miles Morales didn't exist. I wish Miles Morales would be replaced by the original Captain Marvel, things you see other places. It is, why can't we stick to one costume? Why can't we have his own rogues gallery? What if we, like, a lot of them are legitimate suggestions on how to improve. And if you're a Marvel or a writer, that may be annoying, but I ask you to just kind of stop and consider it for a moment, because, dead silence, stone cold on the character isn't good. Remember all those Inhuman characters that were created? Do you remember all those? Do you remember all those? Because nobody else really seems to. I mean, as far as remember Rita? The character Reader. Where's that character? I love Jeff Thorne, and what needs to talk to Jeff Thorne again, too, he created Mosaic. Anybody heard of Mosaic lately? Where is Mosaic? Nobody's talking about Mosaic. Marvel's not doing anything about Mosaic. Would you rather have that reaction from fans, or would you rather people, complaining about Miles, but, offering suggestions of what could be done differently? The second one is better. It may not feel better, but I promise you, silence is worse. By a mile. By Miles Morales. That's cheesy. Anyway, let me read this mail. There's some entry stuff. And basically, I think this is responding to a video I did, weeks and weeks ago. And it says, first, I did want to address the point you made with Marvel sweeping Miles' Ultimate Universe history under the rug. Well, I get the point of doing that, and I kind of wish I could. I think it's kind of impossible to do, since that's where Miles started. Unless they change his origin story, new readers will always go back to the Ultimate Universe and the mess that was Secret Wars. That's all true. And then they make some point about how Kamala Khan is forever kind of tied to Civil War II, and, just different things, and, how they, all the kind of the confusing mess. And Marvel really is at a place where, there's no real clean way to do this. It says, does Miles remember the Ultimate Universe? What does he remember his origin? Does his dad remember learning about Miles' secret identity? Why does Miles inherently hate symbiotes if he doesn't remember one causing the death of his mom? Did she ever die at all? It's confusing. It's true. The letter writer comes back and says, I also want to clarify a point that I feel I didn't really emphasize in the last email. My biggest problem with Miles after Secret Wars is that if he remembers being from the Ultimate Universe, he never seemed to care that everyone outside his family and a few friends died, which always felt insulting and turned Miles into a psychopath in my eyes. Characters like Jessica Drew, Gwen Stacy, Nick Fury, heck, even Mary Jane and Aunt May in the Ultimate Universe were instrumental to his development as a hero and a human. In return, he never bothered to mourn their death. Miles is technically a refugee of the 1610 universe, and even Superman cared more about Krypton, a planet of people he never met, than Miles did for a world he completely grew up in. His complete disregard in Ultimate Invasion #1 made him feel more like a selfish jerk than the Maker. So that's 100% true. And to kind of underline that, what he's talking about is that Ultimate Invasion #1, the Maker goes to Miles like, hey, don't you want to come back to this, our universe, the original universe? Miles like, nah, I'm good, bro. But if you think about it, it's like, well, hang on, that is weird, right? These were your friends. In many cases, people who were really, really close to you. They're all just gone. But yeah, you've moved on. That is strange. Back to Miles says, with Miles' secret identity, I like the concept of Miles dropping it since so many people already know, and it feels like Jon Stewart, but story-wise, it doesn't make much sense. Why would he put his family in danger like that, especially if he remembers his mom died? Also, why still wear a mask if his identity is out in the open? Well, the mask makes him look cool. He's swinging around. I mean, wind shear on the face of actors. I mean, for a young developing face, it's going to make that stubble rougher when you go to shave it. I get that. I mean, this is my idea that if they want to do something different with Miles and really kind of put him on the map, have him go public with a secret identity. Absolutely, it puts his family in jeopardy. Now, in fairness, a good writer could make some pretty interesting stories about that. Maybe his family has a tough dynamic then because they know their sons put them in danger. So they want to support their son's decisions, but it's had a consequence for them. That's kind of an interesting story idea if you think about it. Maybe his family has to go into shield custody, and that so their life is changed forever. There's an interesting way there. So anyway, I still think it's a good idea, and I mainly think about it that it's a good idea because it separates Miles and makes him unique and different, and I think that's helpful. But no matter how many times Twitter will post, Miles is the real Spider-Man. It's just not true. Peter Parker he was the original. That's where a lot of people's heads are going to go. You could say this for another 50 years, but it's not really going to change what happens. He's going to be Spider-Man the second, or, if you're counting Ben Reilly and other things, the third or the fourth. You could blame kind of racist fans for not, accepting a new name kind of all you want. But, the reality is, it's the person who suffers most from this confusion is Miles as a character, because you're saddled with this baggage of some people call you one name, some people call it another one. It's just it's needlessly stupid. Anyway, when it comes to Miles' villains, I personally don't want to see Miles just fight Peter Parker's leftovers, but I do like what they've done in other media. Miles fought versions of the Sinister Six, and then the Spot in the movies, and the Tinkerer in the game. I wouldn't mind seeing these characters, or versions of them, be as villains in the comics, like the female Tinkerer, Spot, and the female Doc Ock. Since the last video, I finally caught up with Ahmed's run, and I think it was a lot better than Bendis' Miles run after Secret Wars, though there were a lot of flaws, especially the Clone Saga. One of the things I did like, though, is he tried to introduce new villains to Miles' roster. Unfortunately, they had either annoyingly mysterious motivations and zero personality, or they were just dark versions of Miles. The original 616 Miles is a lame Ultimate Giant Man costume, and Miles' boring evil clone are not threatening. Personally, I prefer the Legacy Heroes gets their own villains with a mix of their predecessors. That's what I liked about Kylo Rayner and Wally West, and I think that's missing in 90% of the new heroes. Anyway, I agree, by the way. I think that in a perfect world, that is what you do. You have a nice combo of some new villains, some maybe ties to the legacy. I mean, I don't think it's that hard to do. I just think you need to make them threatening. The challenge is if you have a legacy hero who's already struggling with the idea that hero is a knockoff of an original character, then if you give him a rogues gallery that is also a knockoff, I would not be in favor of the female Doc Ock, for example, because everybody knows that there is a more legendary or more well-known, I don't know, legendary word, male Doc Ock. So now you're saying, hey, the second string character is going to fight the second string villain. And that just seems like, again, you're just asking for trouble at that point. Anyway, it says, sorry for another long mail. It's a lot to talk about, especially with your show ending. Also, I'm sorry for your losses this year. My thoughts and prayers go out to you and your family. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, by the way, just overall, all of you who offered so much support for, this crazy fucked up year. I do appreciate that. It means a lot to me, and thank you. Look, I think in total, though, with Miles and kind of this entire topic, the reality is, I think that, first of all, a lot of people write in mails like this because they care. And, for the creators and the publisher, you need to take a deep breath, take a step back, touch grass, and, accept the fact that, yeah, you're getting some criticism, but you're also getting engagement. And that engagement shows that people want this character to some extent to work out. They do care. The Spider-Verse movies have done well. The video game has done well. There is actually a lot of investment in Miles Morales being a, genuine, strong IP. So you need to figure out how you're going to manage this. And ideally, you do need to get out of the zone where he's, other Spider-Man. I think that just is a problem. Now, in fairness, the movies have done well, but they've really carved out a unique identity for him. They've really pushed the idea that, he is another Spider-Man. It's tied to the multiverse and everything else. And by the way, 2 hit movies, and then, there will be the third. That can work. You could do a multiversal saga and kind of stuff like this, and it can kind of, sync. I don't know if this has legs for 30 movies. And really, that's what you want. You want a franchise. That's the reason why you do this stuff. So I think overall for Miles and kind of the whole thing, this is where we need to have, again, lots of different ways you can spin this, but pay attention to the critics. Most of them actually legitimately are invested and care about the outcome. And that is better in a lot of cases than what people normally have. So take it, run with it, and then consider, you have this character in Miles, and there's a lot you can do with him. So go for it. So lean into it. So, give him his own villain, give him his own rogues gallery, give him all of these things, and you probably have a pretty good IP. And again, my idea, go public with secret identity. There's like 50 different ideas. That's one of them. But I think the more you try and make this character unique, the better off you'll be. And recognize that a lot of people who are, talking about this and suggesting about this are people you want. They want to see success. Thanks for listening.